now we can think about whether that could be really, what is the likelihood for this could be just the product of a pure chance or chance occurrence in the universe. So I will grant this one to you. I will grant the causation, material causation. So I'll grant this one to you. I will say, yeah, you can claim if you want that just the wind somehow bringing the sand and pushing them around and processing them and giving the shape. I will grant this to you as well. Think about it. And I will grant the laws, certain natural laws, if you think there are something like natural laws which can actually produce something like this, then I will grant this to you as well, you know. And then I will say, okay, that as a fourth option, think about an intelligent being who might cause all these events. So, and I'm not at this level, I don't want to discuss the nature of this intelligent being, whether it's 1 or 10 or limited power or infinite power. I think that's the next level. First, we'll try to figure out whether those are the work of an intelligent being or not. So that's basically, you know, the options that I have, and I wonder what you really think about.
Okay, one thing I want to make very clear is that I regard chance as the least likely of all of the options that we've talked about. So unlikely that it's negligible. Among the options that we've talked about, I would say hallucination would be probably the most likely. Maybe a dream would be second. A hoax would be third. And a hoax, that is, perpetrated by the people who sent us. And last, alien intelligence would be another possibility. But and then after that, chance would be even less probable than alien intelligence. So I would rank them in that order: hallucination, dream, hoax, aliens, and chance. But it sounds like you want to cross off the list everything except for intelligent intervention. And if I understand your example correctly, the objects that are produced on the moon that we see after these winds are more complex than anything we've seen on Earth. More complex than the shuttle that, or the spaceship that brought us to the moon. More complex than the accelerator in Switzerland and France that's being built, which I understand is the most complex machine ever built. So you're saying there will be some objects that would be there that would be more complex than those, if I understand you correctly. So yeah, proceed with your example, and we'll see where it goes. I would say that if you eliminate the other 4 hypotheses, then the one that comes to the forefront is some kind of intelligence that caused these changes.
Okay, first of all, yeah, my point in this story was, my assumption was that when you examine every single objects come out of the stone, every one of them, not few, without exception, are more or they are as complex as any complex man-made object, or we can easily say more complex than any man-made complex objects. So yeah, right? Anything you pick up, you examine, you study the structure, you find it that's actually more complex than any man-made complex object that you know. So that's not few. That's without exception. Every single object. That if this is the reality, at least that we experience there, and if we clearly rule out the few options that you mentioned, and we reach an agreement that this is real and happening on hourly basis. Now it seems like you don't really want to consider material chaos as a reasonable option. You don't really think that just the wind and the sand can actually, you know, compose something like this, you know, and somehow you don't think that actually could be the, when the strong wind come, it may be too strong, and that's why it can push the sand in a way that at the end you will get such amazing product. Seems like you don't want to really focus on that one. I don't know why. And it seems like you don't really think that there might be certain laws of nature in the moon. That law of nature might be, you know, responsible for, or might be the source of this event as well. It seems like you're not really buying this option as well. But you think that either is a chance in this case if we rule out everything else, or it is basically an intelligent being. And it seems like you agree that actually if this is the scenario, that is more likely those are the product of intelligent being, not the product of chance.
Okay, so if I understand your example, your hypothetical correctly, the complexity of all these objects which appear on the moon to us is greater than the complexity of the most complex object on Earth. All of them there on the moon. 100, 1,000, or whatever number appear to us, all of these objects are more complex than any object ever produced by men or even found on the Earth. I think that's what you mean. Now, why would I say that natural causes probably didn't produce these objects? Well, the reason I would say that is that it takes more time to produce complex objects like that than you are allowing in your example. I get the impression that this happens suddenly in your example. And we do know on Earth that complex objects have been produced by natural processes. For example, the Earth is about 4.5 billion years old, and over the course of 1 billion years, life arose from non-living objects on the Earth, and life is, of course, substantially more complex than non-life. And so natural processes can produce complex objects, but you have to have enough time to do that, and the time that you're allowing in your example just is not sufficient. So that's why I would suspect that these objects were not produced by natural causes. That on the other hand, human beings produce pretty complex objects in shorter periods of time. But look at the accelerator over, the Large Hadron Accelerator over in France and Switzerland. I think that took, I don't know, maybe 10 years to build. So even then, you know, if you attribute it to intelligent causation, it would, from what we know of human beings, it would take a long time.
Okay, so it seems like yeah, it seems like you don't think it's reasonable to actually consider natural cause as the source of that amazing event because of the time limit. But you know, don't forget the story. We'll still try to understand those questions and the event in the story. But imagine that you have time. Do you think that given billions or millions of years or billions of years, that just the wind and sand can actually produce, just the wind and sand alone, even if you give a billions of years, can actually produce a complex object, not one, and produce everything which are more complex than man-made, the most complex man-made objects. I want to clearly say that I'm not saying that the object discovered by human. I'm saying that object